Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to unpack the science of skill. You know, that incredible journey we all take when we're learning to do something physical. Going from that super awkward first try, all the way to a point where it's just effortless, like second nature.
Just think about it for a second. Remember learning to ride a bike? Or maybe typing on a keyboard without looking down? You remember that feeling, right? The wobbling, the fumbling, probably making a total mess. But then there's that magic moment where it all just clicks. Well, that transformation, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
You see, there's this massive difference between knowing about something and actually knowing how to do it, right? You can read every single book there is on swimming, but let's be real, you're not a swimmer until you actually get in the water. It's that huge gap between the theory and the action. That's where our whole story really kicks off.
So how do we even start to figure this stuff out in a formal way? Well, we got to go back a bit. Way back in the 1950s, a team of educational psychologists, led by the famous Benjamin Bloom, decided to try and map out all the different ways that we learn. And what they came up with was this foundational model that, believe it or not, we still use today.
Okay, so what Bloom's team figured out is that pretty much all learning fits into one of three buckets. First, you've got the cognitive domain. That's all about thinking, knowledge, the stuff in your head. Then there's the affective domain, which is all about our feelings, our emotions, that side of things. But the one we're really going to zero in on today is the third one, the psychomotor domain. And that, my friends, is the world of physical doing.
So psychomotor sounds a bit complicated, right? But really, it's just the fancy scientific term for that journey from being clumsy to being coordinated. It's all about the process of getting our muscles and our mind to work together perfectly, turning that clunky, conscious effort into something that's totally unconscious, smooth, and just a habit.
Okay, so if learning a skill is a journey, it makes sense that researchers would want to create some maps for it, right? And that's exactly what they did. These maps, or taxonomies to use the technical term, they give us a kind of step-by-step framework so we can actually see how we go from being a complete beginner to a real expert.
So, let's start with one of the most classic and popular models out there. It was developed by a guy named R.H. Dave, and honestly, it's brilliant in its simplicity. It just lays out the whole path in 5 super clear, totally intuitive stages. And I bet as we go through them, you'll instantly recognize them from your own life. Okay, check this out. It starts with imitation. This is literally just copying someone. You watch a chef on YouTube and try to copy how they chop an onion. Simple. Then you move to manipulation. Now you're trying it on your own, maybe following some instructions or recipe. After a bunch of practice, you get to precision. Bam! Your cuts are clean, they're accurate, you're not messing up anymore. Next up is articulation. This is cool. This is where you can start adapting the skill, right? You can use different knives, tackle different veggies, you're confident. And the final stage, the holy grail, is naturalization. This is when it's so automatic you don't even have to think about it. You just chop.
Now, Dave's model is awesome for everyday skills. But what about the really complex, high-stakes stuff? In professional fields like engineering or medicine. Does a surgeon learning a new technique or a pilot mastering a new plane, do they follow these exact same steps? Well, as you can imagine, the thinking on this has definitely gotten more advanced.
Yeah, and to handle that level of complexity, some more modern models have popped up. And a great example is from 2010, when a researcher named Timothy Ferris developed a new taxonomy. This one was built specifically for trade and professional skills because he recognized that they just need a way more detailed, more granular approach. And you can immediately see how much more detailed this is. It starts at square one, just recognition. Can you even identify the right tools and materials? Then you learn to handle them safely. From there, it's basic operation, doing one simple task. Then you build up to competent, and finally expert operation, where you're not just doing the thing, you're thinking about the entire work context. But get this, the top levels aren't even about the physical action anymore. They're about strategy. We're talking about planning whole operations and then evaluating the results to make improvements. It's a whole other level. So these maps for learning a skill are fantastic. But that brings up a really important question. How do we actually know where someone is on their journey? How can a coach or a teacher or a trainer, how can they actually measure the act of doing?
Think about it. You can't give someone a multiple choice test on how to, swing a golf club, right? It just doesn't work. So instead, educators have to rely on structured observation. And they use some pretty clever tools for this, like simple checklists, rating scales to judge quality, from 1 to 5, and even things like anecdotal records where they jot down notes on key moments. Now, these tools might sound a little abstract, but they become incredibly powerful when you see them in a real-world setting.
So to really get a feel for how this works in a super high-stakes field, let's take a look at a tool that's used all the time in medical training.
Look at this. It's so simple but so effective. A checklist like this can take a really complex, really critical procedure and just break it down into these clear, measurable steps. Did the trainee explain the procedure to the patient? It's a simple yes or no. Did they maintain a sterile field? Yes or no. What this does is it removes all the guesswork. It gives objective, consistent feedback, which, as you can imagine, is absolutely vital when you're mastering skills that could save a life.
So when you step back and look at all this, from Bloom's big ideas about learning domains all the way down to these super detailed checklists, it's really all about one thing, isn't it? It's about our incredible human potential to learn, to adapt, and to eventually master our physical world. And, well, that brings the whole conversation right back around to you.
So, as we finish up here, I want you to think about your own life for a second. What skill are you working on right now? Maybe they're learning an instrument or mastering a new piece of software at work or getting better at a sport. Where do you think you are on that map we talked about? From just imitating someone to that skill being totally natural? And more importantly, what's your next step on your own personal path to mastery?